Romania, 1847. You are a werewolf. The first thing you notice is that your body is wrong. Your arms are too long, the joints in the wrong places, the muscles thick and knotted like rope pulled too tight. Your skin is no longer smooth but broken by patches of coarse, bristled fur, each strand prickling against the cold air. Your hands end in claws that catch on the dirt beneath you when you try to push yourself up. Your mouth feels swollen, your jaw heavy, and when you run your tongue over your teeth, you feel long, curved points where flat human molars should be. Every breath you take is a shock. The scents are overwhelming, sharp, and layered, filling your head with too much information. You smell soil wet with dew, the musk of animals hidden in the undergrowth, the sour tang of old blood, even the faint rot of leaves 100 paces away. Your ears twitch at sounds you cannot place, like whispers in the dark. And underneath it all is the deep ache in your bones, a pulsing reminder that something inside you broke and rebuilt itself. You remember flashes, not a story. The moon, blinding in its silver glare. Heat swelling under your skin, making your muscles seize until they tore. Bones bending in directions they never should, popping from their sockets only to slam back in a new shape. The pain was everywhere, in your jaw as teeth pushed through gums, in your spine as it arched and lengthened, in your chest as ribs cracked to fit a different body. There was no ceremony, no majestic rise into your new form, only the helpless convulsion of a body destroying itself to become something else. Somewhere in the middle of it, your mind slipped, your thoughts scattered, replaced by hunger and instinct. You didn't think. You acted. You chased. And when the moon began to fall, so did you, collapsing into darkness. Now you are here, lying naked on the cold ground, shivering, your skin streaked with dirt and blood. Your fingernails are torn, blackened with dried stains you don't want to identify. There is an emptiness in your mind where the night should be, and that emptiness terrifies you more than the pain. You know something happened, something violent, but the details are buried in the animal part of you that refuses to speak. You try to stand and your legs tremble under your own weight, your joints still protesting the changes. The morning air is quiet, almost too quiet, as if the forest itself is keeping its distance. Deep down, you already understand the truth. This is not a sickness you can recover from, not a curse you can simply outrun. The moon will come again, your bones will break again, and each time you will lose more of yourself. The cycle has begun, and it will take your body first, then your mind, and finally everything you ever were as a human. Between full moons, you live in a narrow corridor where nothing fits, not your body, not your mind, not your life. You are not fully human because your senses refuse to quiet, and you are not fully beast because the moon is not yet on your tongue. Food is never right. Bread tastes like dust, fruit like perfume, and cooked meat sits heavy and wrong, while raw scraps pull at you with a low, embarrassing hunger that tightens the jaw. Smells hammer you awake before dawn and follow you through the day. Layers of sweat, soap, tallow, iron, horse, smoke, old blood, each one sharp enough to sting the eyes. Sound is a punishment. A distant cartwheel wobbles and you hear the flaw. A hinge bites and you feel it in your teeth. Conversations blur into a swarm you cannot swat away. Hands that look almost human betray you. The nails thicken, curve, split along ugly ridges, and grow faster than you can tame them. The skin across your knuckles roughens and darkens. Fur stubborn along the forearms no matter how often you scrape it. As the moon nears, the body swells in small, traitorous ways. Boots that fit last week bite your toes, shirt seams threaten along the shoulders, collars rasp the neck where the vertebrae ache, a deep tug as if a hook has been set between the bones. The spine carries a quiet fire 3 days out, and by the second night before, your jaw clicks when you yawn and stays sore when you chew. You plan your days around failure. You wash more than anyone you know and cannot shake the animal breath beneath the soap. You keep distance from dogs because they announce you before you round the corner, hackles up, teeth bared at the shape you try to hide. You avoid close rooms, avoid the mill, avoid the pew where you once knelt, because crowds turn your senses into a storm. You learn to count time by pain. First comes the dull hum in the long bones, then a tightening behind the eyes. Then something low in the belly that feels like hunger, but is not hunger. A pull that has nothing to do with food. You tell yourself you will be clever when it returns. You will lock the door, bar the shutters, tie the wrists. You say you will be stronger than a thing you cannot name in daylight. And then the world reminds you that there is no safe place. Market day proves it. You go because you must, because a life has errands even when it is falling apart. The butcher has a fresh cut on the block, and the air around his stall blooms with heat and salt and iron. Your mouth fills, your ears ring, the ground seems to tilt toward that table as if gravity itself has changed sides. Your hands swell against the gloves. A seam parts at the thumb and the nail shows through, thick, curved, wrong. Someone laughs at something far away and your head snaps toward the sound with a motion too quick, too sure, not yours. A child sees you see the meat and goes still, small eyes wide and unblinking, and the animal in you wants the gaze to drop. Heat rushes your skin. The jaw tightens until it clicks. For a heartbeat, the world brightens like noon lightning, and you feel the skin along your ribs pull as if the cage were trying to widen. You force a breath that tastes like blood, turn hard, and stumble between stalls, shoulder first, knocking a basket, mumbling an apology that barely sounds like language. You bite the inside of your cheek and count the pain as proof you are still here, still barely on the human side of the line. After that, you move like a thief in your own days. You sit near doors. You measure rooms by exits. You keep water, rags, a knife to cut yourself free if rope becomes a trap, because you have already learned that you cannot trust your hands to remember knots once the pull begins. You sleep on the floor by choice, not because it is comfortable, but because falling from a bed wakes the house and you cannot be witnessed. When neighbors ask why you are pale, why you come to the square less often, why your clothes never quite fit, you invent fevers and bad work and a back that never healed. You do not tell them that the worst pain is the one you cannot point to, the feeling that the body you wear is leased, not owned, and the landlord lives in the sky. You live between promises you cannot keep and disasters you cannot prevent, counting days that stretch and then collapse, always ending at the same door you cannot close fast enough. The night arrives heavy and swollen, and you know before you see the moon that it is already too late. The pull starts deep in the marrow, a grinding that rolls through your bones like a slow avalanche. Your jaw locks first. The teeth shift under your gums, pressing against the flesh until the skin splits and the roots tear free, only to anchor again in a new place. The taste of your own blood floods your mouth, thick and metallic, coating your tongue as you choke it back. Your spine arches with a sharp crack, vertebrae separating and reforming in quick, brutal succession. Muscles seize and tear in one motion, then knot back together in new patterns, twitching under the skin like snakes in a sack. Your hands claw at the ground, nails splitting and curling into hooked talons while the fingers themselves lengthen, tendons straining until they pop. Skin stretches to its limit, and then rips along the seams of your humanity, making way for something darker. Your vision clouds with bursts of white, then sharpens to a clarity so cruel it hurts to keep your eyes open. Every shadow has an edge. Every speck of dirt is a mountain. You smell the air in layers, wet stone, the musk of nearby animals, the acrid sting of your own sweat, and beneath it all, the iron of blood you haven't yet spilled. The ribs force themselves wider, each snap echoing inside you until your breathing turns to a low, ragged growl. The world tilts as your legs bow and lengthen, knees twisting, feet splitting into clawed pads that dig into the earth for balance. You can hear your pulse pounding in your skull, and with each beat, the last thoughts of yourself break apart. The pain is no longer a wave, but a sea, endless and crushing. The joints of your shoulders grind forward, pulling your arms into a predator's reach. Your face burns as the nose and mouth surge outward, cartilage snapping and reshaping into a muzzle slick with spit and blood. You bite down on nothing, just to feel the new power of your jaws, and the hot copper tang makes you shiver with something that is not quite fear. Your ears rip free from the human shape, climbing higher on your skull, catching every scrape of a branch, every twitch of something small in the grass. The last trace of speech dies in your throat as it collapses into a sound older than language, a sound you could never make as a human. And then the pain is gone, not because it stops, but because you are no longer there to feel it. The human part of you is shoved into a dark corner where it can only watch through a narrow slit. Instinct floods the empty space. Your back straightens, your head lifts, the claws flex and dig in. You draw the night into your lungs and it tastes alive, ready, and yours. The body you wear now was born for the hunt, and the only thing left of who you were is the faint memory of your own blood on your tongue. You run because the body demands it, not because you choose. Hunger is not a thought, but a hook set deep in the gut that jerks you forward until your throat growls without sound. The ground hammers your paws and heat climbs your legs, calves and thighs burning as the stride lengthens beyond anything human. Air knifes into your chest, cold and rich, and with every breath the world sharpens. You hear the heart of a hare beating like a drum under leaves. You hear a deer far off, a slower boom inside a wide rib cage. You hear a man near a fence with a lantern, his pulse uneven from fear he cannot yet name. The body makes the choices. You drop low and the muscles in your back pull like ropes. The head tracks the arc of scent and the eyes lock on movement that is only a whisper of darker dark. When you spring, the world narrows to the space between your teeth and the target. Impact floods your jaw with shock and blood, and the taste is hot, copper bright, impossible to ignore. You swallow before you think, and the thinking part of you shrinks to a corner where it can only watch. You do not hunt what you want. You hunt what is in front of you. A farmyard skitters into view. Chickens explode in every direction, and the dog throws itself between you and the house. You turn because the dog is noise and teeth and pain, and in the twist your shoulder cuffs the door. A child behind the wood gasps, and the sound slides into your spine like a nail. For a blink you veer off because some thin human thread still pulls, but the dog keeps coming, and the hook in your gut rips again, and the night goes red around the edges. When it clears, the yard is silent, and the lantern is on its side, and the coop is broken from inside, and you are already running because other hearts beat somewhere else and your body wants them. The forest opens, and the wind carries a warning that is not for humans. It smells of rank fur and stale blood and a line drawn across the earth. They find you first by scent and then by shape. Two shadows that are not shadows. Shoulders high, heads low, lips lifted to show the tools you also carry. There is no brotherhood here. The first one steps sideways to block. The second circles to cut you off from the creek. The message is simple and old. This ground is claimed. You drop your head to show throat, you angle your body to yield, but you are hungry and they smell it, and the smell is an insult. A slash opens the skin over your ribs and the heat is instant. You answer because the body answers. Claws rake, jaws snap, the three of you turn the leaves into a storm. Pain sparks along your flank and your own teeth find purchase in a shoulder that feels like oak. It ends not with victory but with distance. They drive you out step by step until the claim fades from the air and your legs shake with effort, and the hook inside you is still there. Angrier now. You find prey that cannot run fast, a goat caught in a hedge, a fox too tired to fight. The body settles only when the stomach is heavy and the tongue is raw from licking blood out of fur. There is no triumph. There is only heat and salt and the dull thud of full muscles ready to sleep. Morning arrives without your consent. You wake in a ditch behind a tannery, gums sore, jaw stiff, fur packed with burrs that bite the skin. Your mouth tastes like iron and ash. Under your claws there are pale hairs that are not yours, and splinters that smell of coop wood and lamp oil. On your shoulder, a crescent wound seeps, where a rival taught you a rule you will never forget. In the town, a farmer kneels over prints as wide as his palm. A hunter turns the broken lantern in his hands. A child will not step past a door that bowed from a single hit. You walk past them later with a borrowed coat and eyes on the ground, and the dog that lived snarls from under the steps, as if it knows your bones by sound. You promise yourself that next month you will bar the door before the pull begins. You promise you will not go near fences or voices. The body listens to none of it. The moon will lift and the hook will tear, and you will run again whether you want to or not. You learn that the real price comes after the hunting nights, when the world looks at you and finds a shape it does not trust. People do not know what you are, but they know you are wrong. Friends stop knocking because you never answer at the same hour twice. Family keeps a step of distance when you visit, their eyes moving to the marks that never fade on your forearms, to the way your jaw sits as if it were built for something heavier than words. You scrub with lye and ash until the skin burns and still carry a breath of animal that soap cannot catch. Clothes never fit for long. By the second week after full moon, the seams pull across the shoulders and the sleeves crawl up the wrists. By the third week, you hide your hands because the nails thicken again, ridged and yellow and stubborn. Work goes next. You are late on the wrong mornings, you leave early on the wrong afternoons, you vanish on the nights when the mill runs hardest. A foreman pulls you aside and says little, but you hear everything in the space between his words. Another town follows because moving feels safer than explaining, and with each move you carry less. The trunk becomes a sack, the sack becomes a bundle and a hidden knife, a coil of cord, a scrap of meat for when the body wakes hungry in the dark. You rehearse lies and wear them out in a month. A neighbor asks about the scratches down your neck and you say a bramble got you. A cousin asks about the limp and you say the road turned your ankle. None of it covers the truth that the wounds do not heal like other wounds. Some seal in raised ropes that itch for weeks. Some close, crooked, teeth marks that do not match any animal people know. Dogs prove it before anyone else can speak. They smell you at the edge of the lane and go stiff, then low, then loud, and you pretend not to hear because you cannot argue with a nose. Children follow the dogs with wide eyes, and you learn to take longer streets and to step off the path when a cart approaches. You begin to map danger like a surveyor, where the butcher dumps his water, where the church sets candles that swallow the air, where the hunters store their shot. You see signs pinned to trees after a bad night, sketches of tracks, and words about a beast that kills for sport, and you feel your throat close because you know the prints were yours. Hunters are not stories. Men who share a bottle and a hatred learn your schedule faster than your friends ever did. They hang bells in hedges to hear what passes. They set snares where the creek narrows. One swears silver will work, and even if it will not, the lead hurts enough to teach caution. You keep to the edges of towns, take work that lets you stand alone, tanning skins at the river, hauling at night, lighting lamps before dawn when no one wants to talk. The mind frays under the weight. Sleep comes in thin strips and never holds. You wake to the smell of iron and do not know whether it is memory or your tongue telling on you. You startle when a door latch clicks. You check windows twice, then 3 times, then carry the key in your teeth while your hands shake. You stop holding an infant relative because your arms tense at the drift of warm milk in the room, and the shame of that moment keeps you away for a season. You leave a lover before any vows because you cannot promise a future you do not own. Other werewolves find you sometimes, not with welcome, but with the hard politeness of wolves. They smell weakness and ask for favors that are not favors. A path through your ground, a share of what you hunt, a silence you must keep whether you like it or not. Refuse and you bleed. Agree and you owe. Either way, the circle tightens. When people speak of blessings and curses, they do not mean nights like yours, where the curse climbs out of the water and follows you up the bank and into daylight. By the time the next moon swells, you have lost another job, another address, another name someone used to say with care. You tell yourself this is temporary, that you will regain control, that you will make a life inside the narrow corridor. Then the air changes, the hook in your belly wakes, and you understand that the corridor is closing and the door at the far end is always locked. The days before the full moon feel like the closing of a trap you have stepped into too many times to count. There is no talk of cures anymore. That hope burned out long ago, replaced by a quiet tally in your head. How many nights until the pain comes? How many nights until you disappear again? Each sunrise is not a reprieve, but a reminder that you are moving toward the same wall you always hit. You stop pretending to fight it. Resistance only wastes the strength you will need to survive what comes next. When the evening arrives, the air feels heavier. Your skin tightens over your frame, your joints creak as if the body already knows the order of things. You do not run for chains or locks this time. You sit on the floor, knees drawn up, and wait for the first jolt. It comes sharp and deep in the marrow of your legs, shooting up into your spine until your back bows like a drawn bowstring. Bones snap and grind, not in chaos, but in a sequence the body has learned by heart. The jaw dislocates and reforms, your mouth filling with blood as new teeth tear their way through. You taste it, thick and hot, and swallow without thinking. Skin splits to make room for muscle that swells and knots in new shapes, each change a wave of pressure and tearing that blurs your vision. Your hands slam into the ground, claws forcing their way past the nails. Your shoulders stretch wide, tendons straining until they scream. The sound that leaves your throat starts as a human cry but breaks mid-breath, the pitch climbing into something older, sharper, carrying through the night like a signal. The ribs crack outward to give the lungs more room, and with each expanding breath you smell the world outside, the trail of prey, the scent of rival fur, the faint trace of human warmth in the dark. Your mind retreats further with every heartbeat, the human voice inside dimming until it is little more than a whisper behind the pounding rush of instinct. You push to your feet, your legs bending differently now, your balance shifting to the balls of clawed pads that grip the earth. The last of your breath escapes as a full, unbroken howl that rolls out into the cold air, staking a claim you do not remember giving. And then the hunt begins, not as a choice, but as the only thing the body will accept. You know what follows: the blur of motion, the taste of blood, the satisfaction that is not yours, and the blank space where memory should be. When you wake, it will be in a place you do not recognize. The smell of death will cling to your skin. Your hands will be marked with what you took, your mouth raw from tearing. You will look at the stains, the scratches, the broken ground, and know that you cannot piece together the hours you lost. You will dress in silence, walk back into whatever daylight is left, and carry the weight of what the night made you do. And before the shame can fade, you will feel it again, the slow, steady pull toward the next moon. The cycle never stops, and you will never be entirely human again.